Hello. Sorry, we have a bit of a struggle with the deck. Hopefully it will work this time. Tiziana, do you have questions for Julie? Hello, Mathieu. Thanks for coming. Hi, Davide. Hello, I hope you had a great summer. Merci, Guillaume. Oh, hopefully this will work this time. Hello. Hi, Julie. Do you think you can send me an invite? Because it seems it's not working when I do send you one. Oh, yes, perfect. Welcome, welcome everyone. Hello. Again, we had, okay, we made it.
We made it. Okay, let me get set up here. Oh my gosh. What
Well,
again? What
I
happens when that happens?
have no idea. Oh God.
Oh,
But anyway, I'm so glad. I was saying it's our back to school episode, and I'm so glad to do it with you. Back to school, but a fun one.
yes, I know. Like, no, there's no problems here. There are,
How, how was your summer, Julie?
it was great. It was really great. I'm just putting on the recording, sorry.
Oh, thank
Uh,
you. Wow. You
Hold
think
on
of
one.
everything.
Not really. Let's see here. Hold on one second. I'm really sorry. Let's see. Uh, okay. There we go.
Perfect. And we hear you well.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Uh, the summer went so fast. I it just you blinked and it's gone. What about you?
Same, same. But I did have a break. Unlike you, it seems that you've been working all summer.
I have. I have.
Oh no, we can't hear you now. It seems there's something going on. Oh,
Can you
yes.
hear me now? Uh,
Yes, we can hear you now.
I turned off my notifications.
Yes, that's good. Good idea.
Yes, I have been working a lot. Yes, I mean it started actually in June, at the end of May, going to the Financial Times conference, lecture conference in Venice, and then to Copenhagen for the 15th anniversary of the Global Fashion Agenda, which was great to look back on 15 years of where we are in fashion in terms of sustainability. And then I started working on this, and then Paris Fashion Week, which was great before the Olympics. It was fun because it was all crammed in together because of the Olympics. So you had
Yeah.
men, pre-collections, and couture, and Vogue World, and everything was great. And then I came back and was planning to go on a little vacation, but this Barney's pop-up came up, and so
Mm.
that for the last 2 months. So,
Right. So can you share for those who don't know what Barney's was? I mean, if they were on another planet at the time, what it was and why was Barney so special?
I mean, Barney's had its 100th anniversary this year,
Hmm.
and I here last year, and it started as a men's clothing store. I mean, uh, by the Pressman family, and Mr. Pressman sold his wedding ring to open the store, and it
Ah,
was a place where you could get a suit for any size: tall, large, small, short, and it started from there. And then the family had a really high taste level, and so there was always a thing in the store about that. And then um, he actually was the first one to bring Armani to the US early on, like recognize this sort of new way of dressing men.
Mm-hmm.
And then his son Gene was really involved in the women's part of it. And, was here in New York in the 80s and where a lot of things were going on. And so he really brought fashion to the store. And that's when the women's began. And then the whole, Chelsea Passage was where you had gifts and antiques. And it was just a conglomeration of everything. And it was in sync with the vibe of New York.
Mm.
I think that's the thing with Barney. It's always been not following or dictating, but just always in sync with things. And I think it became a creative way of expressing retail. And so,
Right.
fast forward, Carissa James, who is the founder of Hourglass Cosmetics, got her start at Barney's as a niche cosmetic brand 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And we were very we were very we always wanted to be first. We always wanted to find the newest when it was just new. And so she's become quite Hourglass Cosmetics has become quite a large cosmetic company. And it's her 20th anniversary, and she wanted to do something special. And she thought, why don't we do something with Barney's and have a pop-up of sorts and a concept store? Or it was very much an idea that sort of grew organically. And
Mm.
she very much understands emerging talent, how they grow from something to nothing at Barney's. That was the tradition. And so kind of with that vibe, the whole pop-up sort of expand. Simon Doonan, who was the creative director for many years and was doing the visuals, got involved, and it's just been fun. And
Mm.
it happened to me when a lot of designers were talking to me about, like, what do I do? Um, I get all these kudos and press from what I'm doing in my show and all this stuff, and then, but I'm not getting enough orders from larger stores, and I am not, online presence on these large online platforms is, it's hard to be seen. And then I can't afford to open my own store, and it's very expensive to run my own D2C. And so a lot of other problems were there. And so I saw this as an opportunity just to show the talent there
Mm.
with not
Mm.
a lot of restrictions.
And I'm
So
sure they were very happy
yeah,
to they welcomed it as a great opportunity.
yeah, it's been a good it's been a good partnership because the store is in a good location. It's on 14 Prince Street on the corner of Elizabeth. So it's down there where Lower East Side, Orchard Street meets Soho, and it's got a good vibe. It's a small space. It's 1,500 square feet, and they could put whatever they wanted to in it. Just a small amount, not a large
Mm-hmm.
amount, like almost 50 designers. So we'll rotate some, but it's the best of.
Mm-hmm.
And so very sweet. And then Hourglass is really, they have the operational um, background, and they are also very good at marketing. So there's been a lot of publicity. So it really helps, and it's opening during. So it's good. We need someplace
Yeah.
new to
And
go.
the publicity is also linked to the nostalgia. There has been since Barney's closed. Remember me when it closed? Remind me. It was in 2019,
I
no?
think so.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Yes.
since then, there has been a tremendous nostalgia. How do you explain this?
Because Barney's was never, because it was a place where people met. It was a place where you could wander and see things, and salespeople would have conversations. It was not a corporate environment. So the curation was that, yes, we loved Armani. Yes, we loved, these bigger brands, but surrounding them by the new. And
Mm,
never followed. Our North Star was, is this coming from someone who's really talented? Is this product interestingly made? And do we want to work with you? And then
mhm,
that we figured out the business. But you had to
mm,
kind of, that was the calling card. And I think when you create that, it was very authentic. And I think you create that. So you saw sort of some absurd things at times, like, what's that? But then it was balanced with something that you understood. And the salespeople were talking to the visual people, and it is, the buyers and merchants were talking to the alterations people, and like everybody was talking, it wasn't segmented. So
mm.
it was really lovely in a way.
It was a launchpad for many designers. Is there maybe one designer who stood out in your memory, who started at Barney's and became very famous afterwards, who became very successful?
I mean,
I mean,
we
there were many,
there were
but
so many. I mean, when we first bought Prada, it was nylon backpacks. And the salespeople were like, "How can we sell these nylon backpacks? They're too expensive." And so, I mean, it was everyone. We, uh, we Jill Sander was just coats. Rick Owens was just leather jackets and some T-shirts, some wife beater T-shirts.
wow.
Um, it goes on and on. Nicholas Gasquier, we bought Balenciaga when Joseph Timister was designing the evening, and Balenciaga, Nicholas Gasquier was doing the ready to wear.
Mm,
Uh, there was not a designer we did not look at. McQueen, we didn't even, we waited a few seasons to buy him because we didn't think that it could even hang on a hanger correctly. John Galliano, from his, we had no fear, but we did know when we saw talent. And so
mm,
that was, that gave us a lot of confidence, and it was up to us to figure it out, and we had to sell it, we had to figure it out. So we oftentimes wouldn't buy a lot in the beginning and get the fit and everything straight, and then we would start to grow the business.
mm. And everyone has a Barney's memory. And I know for the pop-up, you've asked some designers to share their memories of Barney's. And you've worked there for a very long time, so I'm sure you have plenty of memories, but can you share maybe one with us?
Well, it's interesting. A lot of the designers used to get dressed up and go to Barney's just to look. Like, a lot of them
Mm.
have the wherewithal to buy a product. But I was laughing. Jackson Wiederhoff was saying that he, got all dressed up and went to the store, I think with his boyfriend, and he he saw some Saint Laurent boots in the women's shoe department, tried them on, and they got stuck and couldn't get off. So totally humiliated, because he didn't really, he shouldn't have been trying them on really. And Lopez from Noir used to just go down to the cosmetic department and get samples. I mean,
Mm. That's what I used to do. When I was an intern in New York, I would go to the beauty department downstairs and get all the samples or my makeup
I
done.
mean, but the people that came through the store were crazy. I mean, everyone from like Jack Nicholson to Bruce Springsteen to Michael Jackson to Rihanna. I mean, after a while, it just didn't phase you.
Hmm.
Um, but every day was something that you could laugh about, and every day was something that you could cry about. So there was never a dull moment.
Mm. A friend of mine who lives in New York told me that she used to go there because there were phone booths down on the 17th Street store, and she was working from there basically.
I mean, that people use Barney's as kind of their, it was the early WeWork, probably.
Exactly.
But, so we had this mantra, taste, luxury, humor, and
Hmm.
really hard to come up with. But when we did finally come up with it, it worked for us. And you'll find in the pop-up, there's interesting things. Simon and his team have worked really hard at making some really funny things that I don't want to tell you. The store opens on Thursday, but there's there's some really crafty, interesting things. I will tell you one thing though, because you might not notice this, the others you would notice, but there's some tables in the store that have been hand decoupaged, and they've been decoupaged with women's books. So they actually took the pages of the books and decoupaged the table. So there's a Maya Angelou table. There's a Alice Walker.
Nice.
There's Agatha Christie, Isabel Allende. So you wouldn't notice that. But so it's the same details in the care that went into it. So I think it's gonna be great. Again, it's a small store. It's 1,500 square feet, and it'll be fun it's going to be part of Fashion Week. And the other thing I found very exciting was that when I was reaching out to designers, it just ended up being New York designers. And I soon realized that the community that some of these designers have is so incredible. And also, we have so much talent in New York. Like when you really
Mm.
make the list and you start going through it, it's like, wow, I never realized how much, you know, talent we have in this city. I mean, people like Tom Brown and Marc Jacobs, who's like the king. And then you have people like Who Decides War and Willie Charvaria and, Loire. And then you have people that are very new, like Colleen Allen or Zoe Gustavo Whalen, Anna Whalen. So it was the mix at Barney's too. So
Mm. And do you think all these talents in New York, it's linked to the mindset in New York? You told me that there are different growth paths, growth tracks between New York designers and European designers, European-based designers.
yeah, I mean, America is a young country compared
Yeah.
to Europe. So there's a real entrepreneurial spirit and like we can do this. And there's not so much a fear of failure, I think. And
Mm.
when you live in New York, you realize anything goes, and there's communities that are all together and they're on top of each other. So you can actually you can you can make things happen here, and it's very resourceful and be scrappy too. It doesn't have to be perfect, and
Right.
and that energy, it's not in a box, and it's not a formula. And I think New York is a city that is open to that.
Mm. Someone is asking how long the pop-up is open for. Until October, right?
October 11th, yes,
Mm.
and there'll be lots of activations too. Like there's a few designers that are having launches on product that they've just, one is launching underwear and a provocative magazine. Another is launching a watch. There's another designer. It's their 10th anniversary, and they're doing they're bringing out the archives and selling some of their archives. Um, there's a designer who's making cocktails one night. There's some panels. It's going to be fun. And then
Yeah.
there's one designer is who is bringing in her girl community, and they're going to do makeup and makeovers, and it's fun. We're just going to have fun with it.
Yeah, you mentioned humor and how important it is in retail. I like
Yeah.
that. I like that because it's not often the priority for retailers.
No, and humor has to be. You just can't make humor. You have to create a space for it and a
Right.
conversation. Um,
Mhm.
it's a funny thing how you do it, but you just do something sort of off kilter, and then that can start a conversation or create something.
Mm. And you told me there's a brand from two Broadway actors, a deodorant brand. What's that?
Called ACT, AKT.
Okay.
I mean, who's not a
Are there,
Broadway actor?
are there,
Oh,
yeah, are they musical actors because of the deodorant?
I mean, they're definitely Broadway, but yeah, it's there's a few. Carissa felt very. There's a few niche beauty brands that like were her started, very early on, and you need exposure. You really need exposure.
Right,
I think now we're looking at things and curation is really important. It's hard because we have access to everything. So how do you make a curated buy? That's why the specialty stores are doing so well right now because they're curating and they're offering personal service.
right. You told me small is beautiful.
Yes, yes, it is. It's interesting, and it's also more soulful too.
Mm.
But
So are there,
it can be inspiring. I don't want to be negative about the big online platforms or the big stores, but sometimes the high talks to the low, and sometimes the low talks to the high, and that's a
right,
really important.
what are the shops? Because you're the queen of retail. What are the shops that you recommend checking out in the world?
Well, in the world, let's just stick.
Okay, maybe let's start with the US and
I mean, there's, I I would say searchers, small specialty stores, really, because I think that's what's really interesting. I'm afraid to name any names because I'll leave someone out. But in New York, I would suggest that you wander around Orchard Street in the Lower East Side in Chinatown, and I think that around NoHo, where the pop up is at Elizabeth and Prince, because there's lots of smaller stores, and they don't have a lot of marketing money, so that's what.
mm.
I was coming to New York, that's where I would go. So
And in France, in Paris, do you have a store to recommend?
I have to say, I feel very comfortable at Bon Marché. I do because I have limited amount of time,
Mm,
and there's like I'm talking to myself right now. When I go to Paris for Fashion Week, I definitely want to brush up on my flea market and smaller stores. But I have limited amount of time there, and I find that kind of is a good if I need to sweep through and see some things I like that.
mm. Can we go back to the beginnings? You grew up in Texas.
Yeah, I
How
grew.
was your childhood like in Texas?
Well, um, it was very Texas. It
What
was
does it
very, very. It was. I grew up. It was a suburban lifestyle. Uh, Women in Texas love to dress and they love fashion, so that's probably where I got a lot of, my feel for it. Texas is a great place to grow up. People there are amazing.
mean?
They're hearted and generous, and they. But it was like Mexican food, barbecue, all of that. It was very typical Texan. But I came to New York in 1992 and or 1990.
Did you want to work in fashion when you were growing up as a little girl, as a
I
teenager?
liked fashion a lot. What happened is I got a part-time job at Neiman Marcus for the summer,
Hmm.
and there was a buyer who had been at Neiman's had worked with Stanley Marcus. She was the oldest buyer at Neiman's, and actually, she, I mean, talk about discovery. She discovered Karl Lagerfeld, Emmanuel Ungaro, like all those. Like she went to, she knew Hubert Givenchy, the Masoni's, like that. She was originally the discoverer there, and she was amazing. And so, right as the summer was finished, I actually around that time, her assistant left and I became her assistant. So I got to go to Europe with her.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
so I wasn't, I was, I don't know, like 20. And I was going to Europe watching her. And I was by her side just to help her.
So
So she
you
taught,
were already going to fashion shows?
you know what? I didn't go to fashion shows, but she didn't either. It was a different thing. Like customers went to fashion shows for the most. I mean, some retailers did, but she came to work, you
Mm,
know, and they, Neiman's at that time, like Barney's, was very much about not just buying collections, but also buying beautiful hats, beautiful hand knit sweaters, crafted things. So probably that's where I got an introduction to that. So then I just stayed at Neiman's and went through, I became a buyer there, and then I was going to Europe and coming to New York, and then when Barney's was opening their Madison Avenue store, and also planned to open Beverly Hills in Chicago, I had come to New York to work for a designer who went out of business, and then they asked me to come help them, and
mm.
I did not want to. I was
Why
like,
not?
because I didn't want to go back into retail. And, Neiman Marcus was the only retail place I had worked. And I just didn't see myself there. But then the people at Barney's were nice. And I interviewed with a woman, Connie Darrow, and who was quite amazingly talented and eccentric. And then I interviewed with Gene. I remember Gene at the interview, he was tossing up a football while he was talking to me. and then I probably shouldn't say this. Well, no, I can't say that. Sorry.
Oh, I think I
But
know. Is
he,
it the one who told you that he only hired good-looking people? Oh
yes.
no. God.
But he was great, and it was fun. It was really fun. And then I think the next day they had a party in the store, and Debbie Harry was singing on the tables. I mean, it was quite the place.
Mm. And then, yeah, it was a dream job, right? And I'm sure your job evolved with the time because the job of a fashion buyer evolved. As you said in the beginning, buyers didn't go to shows and to fashion shows, and then you attended fashion shows.
Well, yeah, it changed. I mean, I came in to oversee designer, and then I was only going to stay a year till they opened up the stores. And then one thing led to another, and fashion moves so fast and changes so quickly that everything was just changing. And that's interesting for me.
Mm,
Um, and it's interesting for everyone at Barney's too. They're builders; they're not maintainers. It's really hard to start to maintain because you're always wanting to like make something new. Um,
right.
but uh, yeah, it did. It started to change a lot. It started, shows became more important. Um, it was then that you came into the age of bloggers and then influencers. And then, it's really funny. The front rows have changed over the years.
Mm. And
But I think when you say people are nostalgic about Barney's, yes, they're nostalgic about Barney's, but maybe they're also nostalgic about how shopping used to be, and maybe the over marketing of things now. And we have so much amazing technology, but maybe marginalizes a lot in some ways. There's always that yin and yang. So I think
mhm.
maybe we might need to listen to all these people that are wanting something more personal, more more fun, more interesting,
You mean the designers, the
uh,
young talents who want?
in terms of the retail landscape.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, the designers, I mean, you can't stop the talent from flowing. It just is born and they're doing it. And you're like, you sure you want to do this? This is really hard and it's very, it takes some cash flow to do this. I got to, that's
Mm. And you mentioned many of them. How do you do? Because when you mentor someone, you become emotionally invested, and you have so many designers that you mentor now that you support. How do you do to keep, you know,
Well,
to
officially mentor, I don't. I just try to help.
Mhm.
I, that's what we do in life is we try to, we do our work, but we also try to help. And so, um, we need to be more of a community and be talking to each other. Sometimes fashion's like a lone journey, and it's
Mm.
really hard uh, you know, to find your community where you can talk about things. I mean, that's what's so great about the LVMH Prize. I've been working on the LVMH Prize for 11 years, and I realized, wow, they've created such a great community among designers. I mean, many designers meet each other there, and they become friends, and they can share, what's working for them, what's not, and they get a lot of experience from going through that process. So, there's
Right.
things like that I think have been
So
really,
you've been there since the beginning of the prize.
yeah, from
It's
the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And at first, designers were a little bit hesitant. I think they did want to expose themselves too much because they knew, there's this thing about being perfect. But now it's become such a do good sort of, platform for new talent. They get a lot out of it. They meet a lot of people.
Mhm.
Everybody wins. LVMH gets to see some of the newest talent. It works for everybody.
Well, speaking of talent, Pauline is popping up. Pauline
Oh,
Dujancourt, who is a finalist of the LVMH prize that's coming up very soon, actually. It's in 10 days.
yeah.
10 days.
Yeah. On September 10th, they'll announce the finalists.
Hi,
Yeah,
Pauline. Thanks for tuning in.
I know. Gosh, if Barney's was still on Madison Avenue, we'd have her come in and do a tutorial on knitting and crochet.
I would be game for that, for sure.
But see, that's what I mean. Like this year, the the eight finalists, many of them are doing a lot of handcraft. That's amazing. That's
Yeah.
very from the first season. So it's very much what's happening, like we were talking about the high talking to the low. It's very
Hmm.
interesting, and it's very attractive too. And oh, also in at Barney's the pop-up we're having Ella Emhoff, who is
Hmm.
who will have some of her needlepoint paintings in the store. So that's really great to see that as
I
well.
saw her looks at the Democrat convention. She
Yeah,
had amazing looks.
yeah, she's got great style. She's got great style. Oh, and another thing in the pop-up, we've have some paintings from Ruben Toledo, who is Isabel Toledo's husband. But so it's that was very much a part of the Barney's past as well. So it's going to be good.
Mm. So it's what would Barney's be if Barney's was still existing today, basically.
It's a taste. It's a taste
It's
of.
a taste.
It's a
Yeah,
taste. The small
because
space.
it's much smaller.
Yes. But you have a lot of things going on. Like you have this Barney's pop-up, you have the LVMH Prize, you have New York Fashion Week going into London, Milan, and Paris. So there's a lot going. And the Electric
Mm.
West, which is, that's a very much a lot of energy. So it's gonna be a big fall.
Right. And what are you looking forward to during Fashion Month that's coming up? That's starting this week, actually, with New York.
I
What
think
are you
New York,
excited about?
I'm really excited about the New York designers and seeing the shows. I think with like Willie and Raoul with Luar, and I think those are going to be like benchmark shows. I think that uh, there's a lot of great presentations happening. I Alaya is showing in New York, which is really interesting. Um, I think keep your eyes on New York. I feel like New York has
Mm.
new. It's a there's an energy here. And actually, I have been here most of the summer, and I feel it. I feel it. Like it's good.
Wow. So yes, I'll have big FOMO this week when you open the pop-up. But thanks to this show tonight, we I had a taste of it, so that's super nice. Well, thank you so much, Julie. It
I
was
love,
so great having
and
you.
also, for those that are watching, you're such a good journalist, and you try to not miss a thing, and you're open to writing about everything. And I think that's also, uh, I think that's a real positive in fashion too.
Thank you so much. And I meant to thank you because you always help me whenever I need to. You're always available and super kind. And you describe the work of designers so well. You always have the perfect words to describe. For example, Pauline, the work of Pauline. It's about knitting. You always have the subtleties. So thank you so much.
Well,
Someone is asking where is the pop-up? We said it's on Prince Street,
it's on
right?
14 Prince Street, the corner of Prince and Elizabeth, and it opens September 5th.
Yes.
But yeah, yeah,
Well, thanks again, and I look forward to seeing you in Paris
yes, I can't.
soon.
All
Yeah,
right,
me
happy
too.
September.
You
So
too.
on the first day of September.
Thanks everyone for tuning in tonight, and see you next week. Oh, next week, my guest is Jean-Claude G3. Do you know Jean-Claude, Julie?
I
Jean,
do, but
he
I
has this leather brand. He does all these leather leggings, etc. And he's just releasing a book this week about his life, and he has a very interesting life. So I look forward to having next week as a guest.
so if you can't make the 6 o'clock, what do you have? You have the recordings on Apple?
Right.
Okay.
Yes. On my Instagram and on Apple Podcast and Spotify.
Okay.
So plenty of occasions to listen to the recording.
Okay.
Well, thanks again. And I don't know if you saw my polo shirt. I'm still in Olympics
Oh,
mode, but
yay!
USA! That was just for you, this one.
I love the Olympics. I could watch them every night. It was so much fun.
It was really fun. I mean, this summer was fantastic in Paris because of the Olympics.
Yeah, it was, and I mean, kudos to you all. You made it so amazing. And watching it from afar was just riveting, really.
We'll see if it has an impact on the collections, if the designers in Paris will be inspired by the Olympics in a way
Yeah.
or another.
Are we still on?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. I didn't know.
I could I can keep going and going. Um, but I told you it would be until 6:30, well, 12:30 your time, and it's already 40, so I won't keep you too long. I know you're super busy with the pop-up, but thank you again.
Thank you. All right. I see you.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.